This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. How many of us see music when we leaf through a copy of National Geographic and actually turn what's there into lyrics for a song? Or how many of us can take scientific facts about water and make them both funky and informative, like the first track on local kindie musician Marko Polo's new album, Aqua Phonic.
H2O, it can freeze, it can flow from a solid block of ice to a liquid to a gas. Did you know there's vapors in the air all around? This chemical compounds precipitate down to the lakes, to the rivers, to the seven seas, feeding the root systems of all the trees. Water is a gift from which all life springs, all of our existence and everything, but it's not just all around us, it also is within. About 70% of the cells inside your skin are made up of water. We are water. Water. We are. We are water. Water. We are. It can really make you think. When did you last take a drink? If you're not feeling great, you may need to hydrate.
And we are here to discuss his approach to creating fun, catchy, educational, yet not didactic music, and the making of his most recent album. Singer-songwriter Mark Pagano, musician name Marko with a K, Polo. Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, We Are Water it is very catchy and definitely funky. Where do ideas for songs like this come from?
So that song, I kind of started that song with I work in Logic at my home studio, and so that song started with a drum loop that I liked the feel of the drum loop, and kind of put some chords on top of it. And I'm not sure where the song idea We Are Water came from, but as I was working on this project, this water theme it became apparent that that's like the theme of the album. So, right. So that kind of just fed into it.
Yeah. And the musical choice that you made here, so we use the word funky, not all of the music that is on this album or that you have done has the same genre sort of as the source, right? How do you choose when it comes to that?
Yeah, so I was a little surprised to hear this as the lead track for our segment today, but it's gotten some really good feedback. It is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. It's like more of a rap kind of spoken word piece with emphasis on the flow, but I guess I was thinking of water and flow and just the feel of that beat as that kind of directed the approach for that song. And yeah, it's a direction that it speaks to some of the music I like to listen to that I don't always dip into for my own music. Yeah.
Right. Why did it surprise you that we chose this?
I don't know. I kind of thought it was, not, because it's not my normal approach. I'm just a little self-conscious about it, I guess.
Oh,
so.
okay.
But that track has gotten really good feedback. So I'm, I just felt like I was stepping out a little outside of my comfort zone with that one. And so I'm pleased that it's, palatable to everybody.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly, this has some connection to your astrological sign, I hear.
Yes. Well, I am a Pisces rising and a Pisces sun. So
okay.
I'm a double Pisces.
Yeah.
So water is,
is there in you.
Yes, I am water. And we are, all of us.
Right.
So,
and insofar as testing the music, so you said that people have been responding really well to it. How do you test out if you're your target audience is children.
Yeah, so I've got two young boys at home, and I try to run stuff by them. Maybe more than they would like sometimes, but I also work with early childhood music. So occasionally I'll run stuff by children in those kinds of settings and at gigs and stuff like that. But a lot of this album was actually really created without much of a test market. But I was working with my producer Dean Jones, and so I felt like, he's always a good gauge of whether it's going in the right direction or how to kind of make it work for the album.
Well, one of the ways that we tease this particular segment sort of gives us a way to hear something else that you've done. And speaking of test audiences too, you also work with your audience, or at least those who would be part of it, to make your music. Here's a song that, like We Are Water from earlier, is full of fun facts, like kind of teaching us what it means to be pedomorphic.
What does it mean to be pedomorphic anyway? Pedomorphic salamanders are like Peter Pan, forever young. They've got feathery gills on the sides of their head. If they stay out of the water too long, they'll be dead. You can find them in a lake called Xochimilco. They're pink with the bioluminescent glow. Yeah, they're pink with the bioluminescent glow. You find them in a lake called Xochimilco. They've got feathery gills on the sides of their head. If they stay out of the water too long, they'll be dead. Axolotl. 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 Axolotl.
Mark, how did this adorable salamander song come to be?
So this song was written with a group of fourth graders at summer school last summer at Gateway Elementary. I work with a nonprofit called Springboard to Learning, and I do a program called Music Maker. And about 5 years ago, I released an album called Endangered Species Project with my band Fire Dog. And so sometimes I use Music Maker as, or I use Endangered Species Project and Music Maker kind of come together, and I work with kids where they'll research an animal and kind of get these ideas together, and then we'll put a song together based on what they find.
And I believe I've seen an image of what that process looked like. I mean, do kids really get into this with you?
Yeah. Some of them do.
Sure.
But yeah, this one was a lot of fun. We only had about 4 meeting days, so sometimes it's nice when it's condensed like that. It's just like, okay, we've got to dig right into it, and so they worked in small groups to kind of research and pull ideas together. Then we just put everything on a big board, brainstorm it out, and usually I will do some kind of. I like to do this dice game where we'll choose the chords based on the numbers that they roll.
Oh, okay.
So the interesting thing about this song was that usually the numbers come up and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. It works." Well, there was like 2 kids who kept being like, "No, that's not it. No, you got to do it again." So we kept re-rolling, and I was kind of feeling it with them. I was like, "Yeah, it's not really doesn't express the song or the animal in the way that we want it to." And finally we came up with the right combination of chords that kind of really worked for the song. And yeah. I'm glad they were persistent.
So did they like it?
Yeah, it was we all liked it, and it was that's why I chose to kind of record it and produce it properly, because I just thought it was a hit song. Yeah. Well, I know axolotls are really popular with kids right now. And people had been asking me for years to write a song about axolotl after the Fire Dog has a hit about a salamander called the hellbender, which is native to Missouri. So
yes.
This is kind of a follow-up to that.
Okay. Well, and you're wearing a T-shirt that has, is that the axolotl?
Yeah, I found this shirt online for my summer gigs. It's like a pixelated axolotl. It's kind of a riff on the Nyan cat, which is a popular internet meme.
Yes.
And somebody took the cat out and put a little pink axolotl in there. And so I actually didn't even know about the Nyan cat until I started wearing the shirt. And they're like, oh, Nyan axolotl.
Yes. It's from some time ago.
Yeah.
Well, and our executive producer, Alex Hoyer, and I were talking about axolotls. Like they're so stinking cute. And I had no idea that this thing existed when I was growing up. So it certainly seems to be having a moment. For those who are not familiar with axolotls, either through like children or grandchildren or nieces, nephews, what is it?
So it's a little small pink. Well, they come in different colors, but the most popular color we see is the pink representation of the axolotl. And they have these feathery gills on the sides of their head. And they're neotenous. They're pedomorphic, which means they don't ever reach full maturity. Well, usually they don't. So that makes them have these like juvenile baby-like features that are really attractive to us.
Okay.
I've learned a lot about them since I started kind of working on this song. And, a lot of the stuff's not in the song, but they were a sacred animal to the Aztecs. Mm-hmm. And they come from Xochimilco, which is the lake in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that lake has been basically destroyed, and their habitats are, demolished. But it's also one of the most researched animals in the world right now because of their regenerative powers. They can regenerate their brain and their hearts. So scientists all over the world are studying this animal to see if we can use this power of regeneration to heal ourselves.
So they really are magical. And apparently there are several axolotls in the tanks at the St. Louis Science Center. So I'll be looking out for those next
time. At the City Museum, too, there's they make really popular pets, too. So my son had 2 pet axolotls in his classroom last year.
Okay. Past tense because he's not in the class now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. They're still, I think they're both doing okay. But
right.
But yeah, they're easily bred in captivity, so they make popular pets.
Oh, good. We're talking with Mark Pagano, whose musician name is Marko Polo. We're discussing some of the songs on his new album, Aqua Phonic. And on that note, there is another song that I'd like to hear more about. And it was inspired by National Geographic. Now, I'm going to read part of this just to give you a sort of a sense of the contrast. The first rays of sun are breaking over the tundra cliffs. The air is alive with the cries of wheeling seabirds, and from the open sea, the pale forms of swimming walruses are approaching the shore below. Their tusks draw crisp white lines through the black water, their breath rising in golden puffs. They're chiming, a haunting, metallic song like a softly ringing bell. It is a sound you hear with your whole body, as if you are underwater. Now that's how I read it. Here is your version, Mark.
The first rays of the sun are breaking over tundra cliffs and on the open sea. Walruses are approaching the shore below. Their breath rises in golden puffs. They're chiming a haunting metallic song. Like a bell that softly rings. Walruses sing. You can feel it in your whole body, as if you're underwater on a remote Alaska island. Unforgettable melodies where walruses
Your version is infinitely better than the way that I read it. Mark, tell us how you got from what I read to what we've just heard you sing.
Yeah, well, I thought it was really beautiful when you read it. Actually, I haven't heard those words just out of context in a while, but I thought it was last spring of 22, and I had just finished my first run of shows. I had an album out called Mammal Music, and I picked up the National Geographic that came to my house after this week of shows, and there was the article said Walrus Sings, and I thought, oh, that like really relates to mammal music. And I read the article, and I was really inspired by the lyrical quality of of the words, and kind of a melody just kind of came to me. I picked up my guitar, and the song really just kind of wrote itself. And so I was, just inspired to make this little demo of it. And I contacted the author, Acacia Johnson, who's an amazing photojournalist. And she doesn't do a lot of writing. Actually, this was one of the first pieces that she had published of her writing. And she does a lot of work around, she lives in Alaska, and she does a lot of work around the sea ice and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just reached out to her on, email, and I sent her the little demo, and she said she loved it, and she was like, yeah, go ahead, record it. That'd be awesome. It'd be great to be a part of the project. So it was really cool to make that connection and get to, use her words in a musical way.
Yeah. I mean, it like struck me as like found poetry, and then you put it to music, and it's not poet voice at all. It's wonderful. Now, this album, Aqua Phonic, it was partly made possible by a grant that you got, right? Talk about that.
Yeah, so the Regional Arts Commission has, they have annual artist support grants. So you just you pitch your idea for your project, whatever you're working on, and they will give you money to make it happen. You write your project narrative and your timeline, and kind of community partners and your budget and all that kind of stuff. And there's money available for creative projects out there. So I was lucky to get funding for this one,
and you got to pay yourself even, I think.
Actually, I did not this time around. But
okay.
But I was awarded another grant the next cycle. So I have a new project I'll be working on where I will get to pay myself. You can write it however you want. So it's really a neat opportunity, and something, just really great resource for independent artists to kind of create new work.
And supporting local art. Mm-hmm. So, Mark, why is making music for kids something that is important to you?
That's a good question. I guess I've been making music for a long time. Been writing and kind of producing my own songs for almost 20 years, and it was always the kids who were like kind of the most enthusiastic audiences. So I do enjoy performing for adults as well, but kids always kind of connected with my music in a special way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a really cool opportunity to kind of create culture, because they're the future. Mm-hmm. So
they can be pretty tough critics. So like those two kids who are like, no, not those numbers. That doesn't work.
They will tell you what they think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of shows at the libraries this summer, and there's challenges. So sometimes you get like a really rowdy crowd, but that's part of the fun of it, is to try and like redirect energy. And so I kind of got into really writing kids music when I became a father about 9 years ago. Yeah. So but it's been a good niche for me, and I've enjoyed it.
Mark Pagano is a St. Louis singer-songwriter and naturalist who goes by Marko Polo. His new album, Aqua Phonic, drops on Sunday on all streaming platforms. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Where walruses sing.
This episode was produced by Aaron Dorr. Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.